I'm Peppa Pig. This is my little brother George. This is Mummy Pig. And this is Daddy Pig.
Sextorelio. Sub to Sextorelio.
It is raining today, so Peppa and George cannot play outside.
Daddy, it stopped raining. Can we go out to play?
All right. Run along, you two.
Peppa loves jumping in.
Subscribe buttons of Sextorelio.
I love...
Subscribing to Sextorelio.
Peppa?
If you subscribe to Sextorelio, you have to like the video as well.
Sorry, Mummy.
George likes to...
Subscribe to Sextorelio too.
George!
If you subscribe to Sextorelio, you have to like the video too.
Peppa likes to look after her little brother, George.
George, let's find some more.
Subscribe buttons.
Peppa and George are having a lot of fun. Peppa has found a little...
Button.
George has found a big...
Button.
Look, George! There's a really big...
Button.
George wants to jump...
Button.
Stop, George! I must check if it's safe for you.
の拳などかほどにも効かんわい。お前はもう死んでいる。何？もうは匠できれぶ。
George, it's only bad.
Peppa and George love jumping.
Subscribing to Sextorelio.
Come on, George. Let's go and show Daddy.
Why do they only have one footprint each?
Goodness me.
Daddy! Guess what we've been doing?
Let me think. Have you been watching television?
Idiot.
No, Daddy.
Have you just had a bath?
Idiot.
No.
I know. You've been...
Subscribing to Sextorelio.
Yes, Daddy. We've been...
Subscribing to Sextorelio.
Oh, and look at the mess you're in.
Ooh.
Oh, well, it's only mud. Let's clean up quickly before Mummy sees the mess.
Daddy, when we've cleaned up, will you and Mummy...
Subscribe to Sextorelio as well.
Yes, we could all play in the garden.
Peppa and George are wearing their boots. Mummy and Daddy are wearing their boots. Peppa loves...
Subscribing to Sextorelio.
Everyone loves...
Subscribing to Sextorelio on YouTube.
Oh,
Lol.
Daddy Pig, look at the mess you're in.
It's only
Idiot.
mud. Mr. Dinosaur is lost.
George's favourite toy is Mr. Dinosaur.
Dinosaur.
George loves Mr. Dinosaur.
Grrr.
Sometimes George likes to scare Peppa with Mr. Dinosaur.
Grrr. Too scary.
At supper time, Mr. Dinosaur sits next to George.
I beg your pardon? Was that you, George? Or was it Mr. Dinosaur?
Dinosaur.
At bath time, George shares his bath with Mr. Dinosaur.
Good night, Peppa.
Good night, Mummy.
Good night, George. And good night, Mr. Dinosaur.
Grrr.
When George goes to bed, Mr. Dinosaur is tucked up with him. George's favourite game is throwing Mr. Dinosaur up in the air.
I don't think Mr. Dinosaur would like that.
Whee! Whee!
Peppa
What are
and
you
Daddy
laughing
Pig
at? You're
are
playing
bath.
checkers.
I win, Daddy.
Oh, well done, Peppa. George?
George, what's the matter?
Dinosaur.
George, have you lost Mr. Dinosaur?
Yes.
George has lost Mr. Dinosaur.
Don't worry, George. We'll find Mr. Dinosaur.
It's
George
a
is
job
worrying.
for a detective.
Daddy, what is a detective?
A detective is a very important person who is good at finding things.
Me! I'm good at finding things.
All right, Peppa is the detective.
George, I'm the detective. I will help you find Mr. Dinosaur.
Maybe the detective should ask George some simple questions.
George, where's Mr. Dinosaur?
George does not know where Mr. Dinosaur is.
The detective could try and guess where Mr. Dinosaur might be.
I know where he is. George always has Mr. Dinosaur with him in the bath. So Mr. Dinosaur is in the bath.
Mr. Dinosaur is not in the bath.
Oh. I know where Mr. Dinosaur is. George always has Mr. Dinosaur in his bed at night. See, that's where he is.
Mr. Dinosaur is not in George's bed.
Oh.
Maybe we should try the garden.
Yes, the garden. I was going to say that.
You definitely weren't, but okay.
Where is Mr. Dinosaur?
Mr. Dinosaur is very hard to find.
Oh, Mr. Dinosaur isn't anywhere.
George, you do love to throw Mr. Dinosaur in the air.
Yes, Father, I do.
This time you threw Mr. Dinosaur just a bit too high.
There he is! There he is! I saw him first!
Well done, Peppa. You really are a very good detective.
Dinosaur.
George is so happy to have Mr. Dinosaur back again.
Whee!
Maybe it isn't a good idea to play with dinosaurs near trees.
Lesson of the day from Daddy Pig here. Do not play with your dinosaurs near trees.
Dinosaur.